NASCAR takes on the big one this weekend at Talladega. Saddle up for our DFS plays and our best bets for the GEICO 500 on this episode of the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checkered flag. That's all this race
Happy Thursday, everyone. You are tuned in to the Backroad. It's In Between Media's fantasy NASCAR and NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks back with you for another week, along with my usual partner in crime, Seth Woolcock. And our special guest tonight is Taylor Kitchen from Above the Yellow Line on YouTube. Taylor, thanks for joining us. I think it's going to be a fun one tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Seth, how's it going? Excited for Talladega this week?
Guys, I am absolutely jacked for Talladega. Listen, the betting might not always be great. We might get some wild outcomes here at the big one, but it's going to be a hell of a fun time to watch chaos ensue for a couple of hours on Sunday. So I'm jacked up. It's good to have Taylor on the show tonight. Taylor, tell us a little bit about yourself. Your first time here on the Backroad, first time at In Between Media. So tell our listening audience where they can find you and what you're all about.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. So my name is Taylor Kitchen. I run the brand Above the Yellow Line, and we are currently partnered with TobyChristie.com, bringing them NASCAR content. I started watching the sport full-time 2017, watched my first race in 2016, went to Kentucky Speedway, first in-person race 2017, and got hooked. Formed Above the Yellow Line in 2021, and now it's kind of a career. So really excited. So doing content side in front of the camera and behind the camera, working to market some drivers for AT Racing Development. So very exciting stuff, but love the sport, love learning all about it. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite driver, Taylor?
Oh, so to be biased now, I do. Ryan Blaney is my favorite driver, I would say. But journalistically, I have no favorites. So...
Well, and that's kind of how we play it here. We have our little bit of our biases as well. But when it comes to betting, like that's the fun part of it is each and every week you can be on a new, different driver. A guy who burned you a couple of years ago could be your best friend any weekend. So, guys, before we jump into a little bit of Talladega, we do need to look back at Martinsville, which mixed reviews, I would say the least. How about it, Elliot?
Yep, let's take a look back in the rear view. So as Seth alluded to, we just had Martinsville happen. Kyle Larson wins the race there. And definitely some mixed reviews on this one, both on the track and on the card, Seth.
Yeah, so let's just say this was a wild one from start to finish. Strategy came to play, though. Like, honestly, we saw guys like Joey Logano, who we were riding that outright last week. We thought he had no chance. I mean, I had him for a top 5, and I crossed that off the list right away, and he got back into the thing. So did almost Austin Dillon and a couple other guys. So it was a fun overall race. A lot of strategy involved. I would say, like, obviously the green flag passing is an issue, but I think it might be a little overblown. Taylor, how do you feel? Did you enjoy Martinsville as a race? And do we have a short track package issue in NASCAR, or is this just sour drivers and gamblers?
Well, I would say this was definitely better than what we saw last year. Last year, there was like no passing. Martinsville is one of my favorite tracks. I will say that. It's so fun to watch. And last year just flat out just sucked. I was so disappointed. This year, I felt was a lot better. In terms of the package, I think there's some things we have to look at, right? We lowered the downforce, which is great, but we didn't up the horsepower. And when we have issues like that, and then when we have a harder tire compound, you're kind of counteracting what you hope to do with that lower downforce. So if anything, if we want to mix things up a little bit, up the horsepower. We always love when racing is low downforce, higher horsepower. I say, let's try it. But I think a lot of it is a package issue, but we also have to look at other factors outside of that as well.
Yeah, it's just been tough with this next-gen car at the spring race in Martinsville. I will agree this year was a marked improvement on last year's spring race, which quite literally put me to sleep in a hotel room. I was on a work trip. That was not a fun race. I don't really think this was a fun race either, but it was better. And I think that NASCAR is going to keep making steps. I almost want to go back and watch more in depth of the fall Martinsville races from both of those years. Were they as exciting because there was better racing action, or did we put more excitement on it because it was the next to last race of the year?
I think you hit it right on the head there, Elliot. And hey, man, it was still fun for us here at the Backroad. We cashed our Kyle Larson outright plus 850. We kind of got it on a little bit later in the week, but was happy to ride that home. And then, man, Austin Dillon gave it a run there. We had the top 10 bet for him. He got into the top 10 and then Chase passed him right on the last lap there. But we did hit the Austin Dillon over Buescher. And then we threw one of those, Taylor. We like to do a couple fun prop bets here each and every week. One of them was we went under the car number 11.5. So we were able to cash that as well.
Nice.
So Elliot, overall, great week, my friend.
Yeah, a bad race can be made a hell of a lot better when you end up winning the outright. That's for sure. All right, well, enough about Martinsville. We know Talladega always brings the excitement. Let's look ahead to it on the Horizon Forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So we went from one of the smallest to one of the biggest tracks in the sport. We're at Talladega this week. And the comparable data for this one, Seth, is pretty easy for me. We're looking at old Talladega, we're looking at Daytona, and we're looking at Atlanta.
Yeah, pretty much that's what we can draw from this week. I will say, like, this is one that is deceiving because I know we always want to pick some long shots here. However, 33% of the time coming to Talladega here, the front row is the winner. And you want to go top 5, 52% of the time as well. So I'm going to be trying to factor that into our DFS and our betting picks this week. I want to pick guys who I think are going to qualify high. So that's where I'm going to go there. And Taylor, do you see there's this other debate going that we have to be down on Fords this week? And I get that Fords looked really strong at Atlanta, Brad Kay, Joey Logano, no doubt about it. But when you actually look at the manufacturers side by side this season at super speedways, I went from all the top 10s. I gathered that data, 8 Chevys, 7 Fords, and 5 Toyotas. It doesn't feel like there's a big difference that one manufacturer is killing these super speedways. Do you disagree?
Yeah, yes and no. I think for me, even though we're with this Gen 7 car, I like to look at history. I mean, the Fords picked up the pace 2015 to 2018. They had a winning streak going on. Chevys are always good at super speedways. And then what I noticed with the Fords too is they had some decent, qualifying speed at these super speedways this year, and they have some good runs, but they're not able to close it out. I think the Fords somewhat this year have had issues closing out races. I could say the same for Toyota. Chevy seems to be just on the nose, but I wouldn't count them out. They have good history at Talladega. I'm thinking Joey Logano, first off, great history here.
Yes,
too.
absolutely.
Keselowski, though he's at RFK now, was once with Team Penske. So kind of looking at them as a whole. But yeah, the
We're
Fords,
in
I would
really
not
well
count
at
them out.
Daytona, also the RFK cars.
Exactly. So keep my eye on them.
Okay. So a little bit of Ford bias, but we're not going crazy with it this week. Also, in addition to this data, I am going to be looking at overall speed rankings on these super speedways this week as well. And I always like to factor in speed late in a run. That's something to me as a gambler. I want the guys who are going to be fast at the end of this race. But as we know, guys, we're going to need a little bit of luck. So hopefully the gambling gods, Mother Nature, everything comes to fruition for us this week. How about it, Elliot?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing at Talladega is luck. Of course, looking at all this data, looking who's going to run up front at super speedways. I like looking who qualifies up front too. Dale Earnhardt Jr. says this all the time when people ask him, what made you so good at plate races? It's the fact that he wanted to run out front. You run every lap out front, you're probably not going to get caught in the big one in the back. So guys who start up front, staying up front is definitely a big thing. But honest to God, at Talladega, the biggest thing really is just luck. Can you survive at Talladega?
And that's 100% right, Elliot. Like, this is one we made some money at Martinsville, so let's dial it back a little bit this week. Let's not get crazy. We're going to take a couple outrights, a couple fun prop bets here, Elliot, but we're not going to get that crazy with it. And I advise listeners to do the same. I know it's fun. I know it's a super speedway, but a lot of the time, you can do all the research you want, and sometimes just shit hits the fan. So let's keep that in mind this week. And how about it, guys? Let's jump into our DFS tiers.
Sounds good. Let's roll.
sorry about that. Jeez.
There we go. We saw the tears. That's really all we need to see, though, right? At the end of the day, we are ranking all the drivers in the field for you: driver A, driver B, driver C, driver D, and the driver F. Not too many of those at a place like Talladega, where even BJ McLeod can win in the right circumstances. So that's the fun part. We're basing this, of course, off of DraftKings and Fantrax salaries. Our favorites this week: Joey Logano at 10,400 on DraftKings. Then we have Blaney, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and William Byron as your top 5. Taylor, as the guest, we'll give you the first pick. Who are you liking this week to put at the top of your board for Dega?
I'm so nervous because I always jinx this driver, but I think Ryan Blaney, has a winning streak. I guess at this point a losing streak that he needs to break.
He always runs up front at the end of these races, is what you're trying to say, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think he has a good shot.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney, man, he's like the one the gambling gods always tell us to bet him some way or another, and I'm a little bit afraid of him, but I completely understand it, Taylor. Like, he's gonna be there at the end of this thing, and he's a guy who knows how to survive to the end. So I like the pick. Elliot, up to you, my friend.
This is a tough one here. There's a lot of favorites at the top of this board. I think I got to take a guy who's won here before, though. I'm putting Ross Chastain up in the A's.
Woohoo!
You know, we're not super duper hot on him lately. You know,
Yes.
he hasn't run quite as dominant in that Trackhouse car, but we know that Chastain is probably the number one driver in the field at just going absolute balls to the wall nowadays, and it will not surprise me to see him either running up front or getting caught up in that big one just at the last second.
Okay, I like it. I'm going to go with a guy who finished second at Daytona, won Atlanta, led laps in both of them, and it's just an ace on these tracks. We already touched on him a little bit. That's Joey Logano here in the number 22. So I'm excited to roll with him. Like, I know you're paying up a little bit for him. I know you got to go up to 10-4 to get him, but I'm willing to pay up for him this week. He's going to anchor most of my lineups this week. I'm happy to have the 22 car back after a little bit of good luck there at Martinsville. Taylor, back to you here. Let's keep going with the driver A's here.
I gotta pick Denny Hamlin. I do.
Ooh, okay.
I think he knows how to stay, be in the front, or at least be near the front at the end of these races. He knows how to survive them. I think he's a decent pick. Won at Talladega before. I gotta go with him. I feel good about him.
Okay, he's averaging 39 DraftKings points right now. So he's been steady Eddie so far this season. Can he break through? That's what Taylor's hoping this week. Elliot, back to you, my friend.
That is a great pick. That's exactly who I was going to pick. But I will pivot, and I will put Brad Keselowski in the A's. And this is a complete 180.
Ooh,
I want to go.
I've got some hot takes this week. Just get ready. We're only just getting started. Keselowski, I did a complete 180 on him. I was almost put him in the F's, Seth, at Daytona, because I thought RFK's got nothing. Brad's got nothing. It's not going to work out.
You've come full circle, my friend.
I have done a complete flip on Keselowski. We talked about him a little bit earlier. He's hungry for a win. They ran really well at Daytona. And Brad is going to want to get in the winner's circle and lock his own car into the playoffs.
Wow. I like it, Elliot. I like it. It's bold.
It's
I have that love-hate with Brad this year, so I think I'll stay clear of him, but I like the price call there. I'm going to go 8,500, dip down a little bit too. How is Chris Bell at 8,500 this week? Like, I think DraftKings just totally messed this one up and they botched this. Third at Atlanta, third at Daytona. Dude's been a super speedway master this season, Taylor.
Yeah, no, I mean, also qualified P1 for both races last season.
Yes.
So good pick. I'm hesitant on picking a certain Hendrick driver, so I'm going to go with another. I'm going to go with William Byron.
Ooh, okay.
He's got the speed. Also, in my opinion, probably one of Hendrick's best drivers at the moment. Could be a championship favorite. Who knows? But Talladega, I think he's got a good shot to be around at the end. It's just a matter of luck.
Okay. Do you want him in the driver A or B tier? Where do you think he belongs?
You know, I like everyone in the A tier. Let's put Byron in B.
Okay, fair enough. I don't mind fading William Byron. You know how I am, Elliot. We'll keep rolling with that. Back to you, my friend.
Yeah, I don't mind Byron in the B tier at 9,700. A steep price to pay for a risky driver. All right, ready for the next hot take, Seth? I am going to throw Corey LaJoie in the B tier.
What? What are you doing?
I love this.
A price point of 6,100. He's dirt cheap, and he's going to get you a much better finish than that. If there's, again, Spire, another complete 180. He's run well at the plate tracks. He's run well at non-plate tracks, too. Been up front, more so at Atlanta than at Daytona or Talladega. But I am feeling Corey LaJoie for possibly another top 5 finish, which at that price point, I think definitely puts him in the B tier for me.
Wow. All right. I guess I'll have to be the reasonable human being tonight. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here. We got to put Kyle Larson up here. Guy's coming off another win here. He's looked stellar this season at all tracks. And I know we typically like to fade Kyle Larson at these super speedways, but Daytona, he showed up, man. I think he could show up again this weekend. So if there's another guy in that 9,500 range, it's either Ross or it's Kyle Larson that's going to be my lineup. So I'll put Larson up here. Back to you, Taylor.
Another Kyle Busch. I mean, come on. He was around at Daytona, almost won the darn thing. You got to put him up there.
1998 rules, he did win the Daytona 500, actually. So
correct.
Yeah, Rowdy running well would not surprise me whatsoever. For my next pick here, I'm going to go with a guy who's hungry, another guy who's won at Talladega. I'm putting Bubba Wallace in the B tier.
Nice.
Again, another one of those guys that it's been easy to fade this year. The luck hasn't been there. He hasn't had a ridiculous amount of great finishes. But at a place like Dega, you know he can run well, and he's going to be another guy who's very hungry to get his car to the front.
Yeah, Bubba, man, he showed up last week for us. I was hot on him. I took home a couple DFS lineups last week with him in it, so I don't mind the Bubba call here. Guys, I think I have to do it here. I think I'm going to go with someone, again, a bit controversial this week, but how can you not love some Ricky Stenhouse Jr. here? It's super speedway times. Fired up, baby. Cowboys back out here. And listen, I get that maybe Daytona was a fluke, but he's won here before. Third fastest car at Daytona, seventh fastest at Atlanta, top 4 speed at both Talladegas last year as well. And yeah, I'm going to continue to run with the man who's a 32.5 top 5 right here. So I'm on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. a little bit this week, guys.
Yeah, I think with the 47, I don't think it is a fluke. He always has been running well on super speedways, more so than others. And this has been one of the better seasons for that 47 car. Granted, they did just switch pit crews. Most of the 47 crew went to the number 17. I didn't realize they had sort of a pit crew alliance type of deal there. I don't think that's going to affect much at Talladega, though. I think Stenhouse running up front, again, wouldn't surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah, what was with that? Taylor, do you have any insight onto that, what that pit crew move is about? Because I think we all, understand that it's a leased pit crew. Is that correct?
Yeah, so all I know is that part of the crew is swapping from Buescher to Stenhouse back and forth. I know that Stenhouse is not happy about it. He's like, I guess it is what it is, but it's not something that he would like to have happen. And his pit crew's been really solid this year, so I hate to see that he's not going to have his normal team with him. And yeah, though it's Talladega, I mean, the pit crew is not going to matter as much, but at the same time, if you are not with the pack, if you have a bad pit stop and you're not with your pack, you're kind of screwed. So I'm nervous for him this weekend.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for me just because he is already locked in the playoffs and Buescher is not. But I guess you want your best pit crews with your top 2 teams. So I guess we make some sense. I appreciate you breaking it down there for us. Who are we back to? I think we're back to you, Taylor, as well on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So going with the C tier, is that what we're going with?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. This is where I might get a little crazy. I'm thinking Michael McDowell. I mean, Front Row Motorsports, they've had a decent season. I mean, even Todd Gilliland has done really well the past few weeks too. But Michael McDowell is always in the mix at these super speedways. He's not mentioned a lot, but then Daytona 500 win as well the past few years. So put him in there. I think he at least has a shot at a decent top 10 finish, maybe a win. Who knows?
6,800 for Michael McDowell.
I was just about to say that's a good price.
Yeah, we know he's going to be a bit chalky, and there's no doubt about it that this is Michael McDowell's chance to win. So I think some people will be on him. But yeah, I don't mind running with the 34 here. Elliot, back to you.
Yeah, well, this is a bit surprising. We've definitely gone with enough hot takes. There's a lot of good drivers left on the board here in the 3rd round. I could pivot a number of different directions here. I'll stick with the hotter takes, though. We'll throw Chris Buescher into C.
Okay.
Wow.
Buescher is at 7,700. That's a little more expensive than I thought he would be. Maybe already a bit of instant regret with this pick. But hey, if the 6 is going to be up front, I feel like the 17 is going to be right behind him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Buescher's so hit or miss here. I was trying to get behind Buescher a little bit because he has been good at some of these super speedways, but at Talladega he scares me a little bit. A little more housekeeping for me though. I'm gonna put the number 9 car up there. Chase is back, man. And I was looking everywhere for a matchup last week to bet this guy, and I couldn't find anything. His top 10 number was juice, but I had a feeling, Elliot. I came on the show and said, like, I have a feeling the guy's going to come out and have a good race, and that was Martinsville. Now he's at Talladega, where aside from Anthony Alfredo, he has the best average finish among all active drivers here at Talladega. He's got 5 top 5s already in 14 starts here. So I'm going to go with the golden child of NASCAR. He's back. Let's go, baby.
I will say one thing about Chase Elliott. I'm nervous about the leg. I wonder if that's going to allow him to go back to his winning ways. I don't know.
Hey, I said the same thing last week. He goes out and runs top 10. So
well, yeah. And I think, like, if he can break at Martinsville, I think he can, you know what I mean? So I guess that's why I'm a little, but you might be right. Like, I don't know if I expect him to win anytime soon, Taylor. And that's pretty much what he has to do at this point to point himself into the playoffs.
Yeah. So a little nervous there. I will say next pick, though, I mean, if we have Kyle Busch at B tier, I think in C tier, it's only fair we have Austin Dillon. I mean, RCR's road super speedway program is pretty stellar. I mean, I think at this point, Kyle Busch is probably just, I mean, straight up the favorite at RCR right now, performance wise. But I think Austin Dillon, he might have something in him this weekend.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Elliot, back to you.
All right, I think it's time to throw the 2023 model of consistency on the board in that 48 car in the C tier. Only because my guy Bowman doesn't ever have any luck at these super speedways. He runs up front. Each of the last 3 fall Talladega races he's run, he's been crashed out of the top 2. So he just needs a little bit of luck on these super speedways. He's no super great super speedway racer, but that 48 car hanging around would not surprise me either, because he's just been glued to the top 10 for most of the season.
Okay. I'm going to go with someone I feel like we haven't talked about in months at this point. I mean, the guy's averaging 18 DraftKings points. He was someone I was really high on coming into the year, and that's Austin Cindric. But, dude, I mean,
that's where you were going.
Okay.
He almost won that rainy Talladega race last fall. Yep. Looked really fast at Daytona at times as well. You're getting him at a value at 7,000 for a really good plate racer. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to back the 2 car. We know that Penske's track record here is stellar. So I'm going to keep going there with back to the well there with Austin Cindric. Taylor, you're up. You can either keep filling out the CT here or drop down to the Ds.
Somebody I kind of want to put in the C tier, and hear me on this one. I'm thinking Justin Haley.
It's interesting.
Good at super speedways. I know it's a bit of a risk, but if you're into risks, maybe that's one you're willing to take. His team, they went to the appeals panel, just got their points back to match the Hendrick penalty, so that's good on them. Maybe they have some more motivation going into Talladega to not get a win. I will not say he will win, but do well. He's not had the best luck this season, but I feel okay about him in the C tier.
Okay. All right. C tier. I like it. Elliot.
That's the tough part about colleague racing, is that they just haven't run well at all this year. It has not been very good. If they are going to catch a hot streak, it will be at Talladega, though. Remember, Justin Haley has won a bunch at these kind of races in Xfinity. You know that Rod's not on the show, especially, and you know it's a crazy week when Kevin Harvick isn't on the board yet. I think we got to put Harvick in the C's.
Yes. I agree. Thank you.
7,800. I don't love the price here, but I mean, Harvick he's been racing long enough. He's had good runs at every kind of track that you've been on. You know, he's won here before. He's had good runs here before. One of his last super speedway runs, I keep tripping myself up, but they're not restrictor plates anymore. It's a hard habit to break. But at super speedway races, Harvick is somebody to keep half an eye on. He doesn't usually dominate these races, but he's a guy who knows how to keep his car clean. Maybe he fades to the back at the beginning and then comes up at the end. Who knows?
Okay, so you're taking the wily or the grizzled veteran. I'm going to take the wily youngster here. I'm going to go Ty Gibbs. I mean, dude can just race everywhere this season. It's crazy. Right now, he's averaging just under 29 DraftKings points per race this season. Top 10 speed at both super speedways so far this season, Daytona and Atlanta. I think he's going to be fast again. Hey, I don't know, man. Ty Gibbs could honestly, maybe you want to flow an outright on him. I'm just saying, a long shot. Taylor, how do you feel about Gibbs and your next driver as well?
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like Ty Gibbs has actually been pretty consistent this season, which is I'm not super shocked about, but also a little shocked about. You know, going in your first full-time season for the Cup Series, you would expect a little bit of a struggle, but he really hasn't. He's been very quietly steady. So I think fine in the D tier right there. I'm struggling with the next pick. Part of me says Chase Briscoe. I mean, qualifying runs and everything like that, he had fine speed at Daytona, but then we also saw that those speeds didn't necessarily translate to the actual race, but I don't know. I think the price for him this week, 7,900, a little steep. But I would maybe put him in the D category. Granted, he just had surgery on his finger, so that might be something to watch out for to see if it affects his driving. But I mean,
he was great with it broken too.
But he was great with his broken. That's the thing. And Stewart Haas Racing as well. Very, very speedy at Martinsville again. Short track, super speedway, but something to keep out for. See if they can keep that streak going.
Seth, I was going to ask you what your opinion was on SHR. I was about to bring them up. Sometimes we're real low on them, sometimes we're real high on them. Where are you at with the SHR boys?
Well, last week I sat in this very same seat on this very same show with these, not the very same people, but at least you, Elliot. And I'll tell you what, man, I was on an island because I was the only one throwing SHR up last week. And did I expect all 4 of them to go out and have that type of qualifying right out of the trailer? Absolutely not, man. I mean, shout out Ryan Priest, man. Our guy, Skybox NASCAR, one of the frequent guests on this show, he laid down $50 on it, walks away with about $6,000 on that qualifying run. So congrats to Mark, the flag hunting boys. A lot of our friends were on it. I didn't get down on it with them, but I got to watch it happen. So this week, man, like this isn't a track where any of them popped in my model, honestly, Elliot. Like they're all okay. I don't mind Briscoe, honestly. I probably will ride a little bit of Briscoe, possibly in fan tracks. But overall, like I'm not excited to play SHR. Like I get the Ford appeal here, but I there's other Fords I just prefer. The RFK guys I like better, honestly.
Oh yeah.
So great question though, Elliot. To me though, right now, like we got to throw Truex out there. Dude has been like, dude's been solid. Like I don't think he's going to win this year. I'll say this. At the beginning of the season, we had our season win totals show, and I was on the under of Truex 1.5 wins this season. I don't think you'll get to 2 wins, and I'm really feeling good about that bet now. But hey, I think he's going to be okay here. 8,300, still averaging just about 44 DraftKings points per contest as well. So for what you're paying for, Martin Truex Jr., I'll saddle him up one more time here.
Yeah, but I think the D category is a good spot to put him. And let's throw Almirola up in the D tier. We skipped over me when we were talking about the SHR guys, but no biggie. I was going to go Truex anyway. I think Almirola, he's won on the plate races before. He's a winner at Dega. I think he's fine in the D tier, 7,400. That's a good price, but that's still a little higher than I want to pay for him. Priest also 7,300. I don't know if we want to put him in the Ds or if he's bad enough to warrant a trip to the Fs.
Man, he's like, it's so like hot and cold with him. And I think Chris Worm pointed it out very well. When Ryan Priest doesn't have a good car and he just has like a 20th, 30th place car, he's pretty good because he works his way up. He's patient in the race. But then last week, like he just gets all crazy when he has a really good car and like he gets too big for his britches. So like I don't mind him this week. Like I think he's fine because he's not going to have a fast car. So I'm okay with him. But just like for future reference, like if we see him go out there and pull something again, I'm not going to be on him for the outright just because of that. So Taylor, back to you here. We got a lot of light blue on the board right now.
Yeah, I gotta say, well, speaking of drivers that can make some questionable decisions, maybe Tyler Reddick in the D category. He's a driver that sometimes acts before he thinks through a move, and we've seen this at super speedway sometimes.
Oh yes.
But he's speedy. I think at a price of 9,000, probably a little steep. That's why I would probably move him to the D category here, but not a bad pick. And also because Toyotas, they do have decent speed at super speedways, but it depends on who they get to work with and their pit strategy. And usually that's where I see them fall short. They'll have great speed, they'll work well together, and then one person falls off the pit strategy because of a bad call or just something goes wrong, and then they lose. So, but Tyler Reddick, I don't mind putting him in the D category here.
Awesome. Yeah, he's that one guy that every time you look at his super speedway stats, you kind of scratch your head a little bit because you just don't know why he does that. So I think that's a good place for him here. We got Derek in the chat saying, Taylor, bring in the knowledge. Good to see her on the show tonight. Big weekend ahead. Absolutely, Derek. Appreciate you tuning in tonight, our friend.
Thanks, Derek.
Okay, Elliot, back to you, man. What do you feel? Still a lot of light blue. Can you get any of it off the board here for us?
A lot of light blue, but I'm not going light blue here. I'm going white and green in that 16 car of AJ Allmendinger.
You love Dinger every single week. You can't quit him.
Well, first of all, I don't think that's true. I don't remember the last time I've willingly even been excited about taking Allmendinger. Maybe I throw him on the board at the tail end just because he's
that's true.
But Allmendinger, I mean, he's very easily forgotten this year because Colleague has just been, they've been bad. He's at 6,200. And even though Allmendinger hates this kind of racing, usually he's pretty good at it. A lot of Xfinity success with these Colleague boys. Again, Talladega is the place where I can trust them. After this week, we're going to go right back to throwing Colleague near the bottom. This week, I'm optimistic, though.
Okay. Fair enough, man. I appreciate that. I'm going to double dip here. I'm going to take 2 out with 1. One, I'm going to throw Ryan Preece. We already kind of talked about him. I think he's going to have kind of an average car, so I think he'll have a 12 to 15th place finish if he can stay out of trouble a little bit. Mm-hmm. However, his price is going up on Fantrax finally, Elliot. Mm-hmm. We're finally going up a little bit. People are giving him a little bit more respect, which is good to see. I'm going to go ahead, though. I put him on the thumbnail for a reason. We finally get to talk about the kid.
Let's go.
And what? It's the number 36 this week, correct, Elliot?
For Todd Gilliland, yes, he's in the 36.
Yes, we're going number 36, Todd Gilliland. Don't get it. Don't get why he's in the 36 this week. But listen, I mean, this is a guy who just continues to improve every single week. Right now, he has an average finish on the season better than Almirola, better than AJ Allmendinger, better than Ryan Preece, better than that Jones boy as well. So I really like what Todd Gilliland's bringing to the table right now. And hats off to his crew chief as well. Every single week, he's getting some type of strategy call that puts him in the conversation. Finished 8th at Bristol Dirt, was in the conversation last week as well. I'm going to talk a little bit more about him later, but let's remember, this is a guy who top 7 here last season in that rainy race. So Taylor, back to you. A little less light blue on the board for you.
Took my pick. Love Todd Gilliland for this weekend. I think he will do great. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully I don't jinx him. So let's see, F category. So these are guys that we're just probably shouldn't put any money on, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right. So straight up, let's just go with Harrison Burton. He struggles. I don't want him to struggle, but he does. Maybe he can turn it around this weekend, but it feels like every single race we have a spin, 21 Burton. And I don't want to see that. And I don't know. I would say hold off on betting for Harrison Burton this weekend. Don't do it.
Yeah, that's been a general rule for us on the back road to stay away from Burton. It's the toughest time to be a rookie possibly ever in the Cup Series. So, I mean, that's really affecting him. And plus his first Cup race at Daytona, he flipped over a bunch of cars on the 30th lap or something. So maybe he's just been cursed ever since that flip. Maybe we just need another Burton flip with one of his mistakes this week if we get some.
Hey, there you go, a little reverse flip. All right.
Hey, that'll still put him in the driver F tier. So even at a price of $5,500, he's not any good. And neither is Legacy Motor Club. I mean, if there's a week where these guys could be up at the front, if there's a week where these guys could be up at the front, it'll be this week. But they have just been, again, they've been worse than Colleague this year, even, I think, on average finish.
Yeah.
We know Jones is talented. We know Gregson is talented. We know they both run up front at these kind of tracks before. I just still don't see it happening.
It's an off year for them.
It really is, yeah.
I was totally wrong. And I'm so glad the books did not put out bets on these guys before the season because I was so high on Legacy. And, man, it just hasn't come to fruition. The only top 10 this team had, or both these teams have, is that one wild run at the end of Atlanta for Eric Jones. So, yeah, I don't want to get behind it. I know Eric Jones has a decent track record here, but I'm going to avoid both those guys as well. And I'm also going to be avoiding Daniel Suarez. We kind of passed over him. It's just not his track, man. He's got an average finish here of 24. So I'm going to stay away from Suarez. It's a little bit high at 7,500. I'm waiting for him to pick back up, man. But he was hot in the beginning of the season. He's kind of just really cooled off. So no Suarez for me here. Taylor, anyone else that you're actively avoiding this week? We are really at the bottom of the barrel here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we have some drivers that are doing one-off events like Austin Hill. We got Zane Smith. And I like Zane Smith. He's a talented guy. He's shown some strength in some of his starts in the Cup Series, sometimes not. But otherwise, I don't think there's other guys I'm actively avoiding. I think the rest up on the list, maybe just don't bet on at all. But you never know.
Yeah. Elliot, that's funny about Austin Hill because before Daytona, we had some bets rolling on Austin Hill for the Cup Series race. Doesn't qualify. So that was a heartbreaker right off the rip. Now he's the heavy favorite, plus 300, a lot of books to win this race in the Xfinity Series. So Austin Hill all over the place on him. Elliot, take us home. Give us your thoughts on Hill and the rest of these, leave it for the rest of these guys.
Right. Yeah, we were doing the first episode of the Backroad, or not the first one, but the pre-Daytona one during the duels, and had to break the news that Austin Hill was not going to qualify, and
Oh
that was
no.
a bit sad. And it's tough because we really don't know what Beard has. Are these straight up RCR cars? Are these older cars that are being retooled or anything like that? They haven't raced a whole lot since Brendan Gaughan has retired. Maybe he's that surprise guy that you're like, oh shit, he finished ninth. How did that happen? But I don't think it's very likely. The Rick Ware cars, I mean, this week it's Riley Herbst in the 15. I don't think that really moves the needle. Gailey over in the 51, also mid. Again, if this is a week that these guys might be able to pull off a top 10 like we had at the fall Daytona race last year, where we had those crazy bets being hit with both the Ware cars and the top 10. That was nuts, but I don't see that happening again probably in our lifetime, let alone a season after. But
I'm really bummed Cody Ware isn't racing, just because like this is a track I would actually consider playing him something. Give me a little Cody Ware action, but no Cody Ware this week.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any Cody Ware action for a while.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get away from that very quickly. Zane Smith in the 38. Again, maybe he runs well. We talked about him a bit. BJ McLeod, the 78. He's a good personality. His cars are terrible. And Ty Dillon last and very much in that 77.
Yeah,
man, Ty Dillon, like, talk about the fall from glory, or at least your grandfather's pocket glory with Ty Dillon, man. It's been a rough go for him. I know there's going to be some people who are going to show a little love to Ty Dillon. We had a little love on Ty Dillon last night on the NASCAR betting preview show, so I will not be one of those people for the record.
No, but hey, shout out to Ty Dillon for his incoming 7th place run at Talladega. Now that we all collectively put him at the bottom of our list. All right, well, that's all for the Tire Tiers. It's the show that talks about every single driver in the field, regardless of their chances to win. And with Ty Dillon, that's none.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's turn it over to the betting portion here with Parking Garage Props.
So, of course, the funny part about being on a NASCAR betting show before Talladega, when our main advice is be careful and don't really make a lot of bets at Talladega, it's kind of tough, but we will still go through the books like normal, Seth. The outright market, of course, because it's Dega and because it's crazy, is some pretty high odds. Logano's your favorite at plus 1,000 on most books.
Yeah, and like that's the thing, like, if you're going to throw out some bets this week, like, make it fun, put a couple outrights out there, see where it takes you, because the top 10 market this week, juice, don't want any part of it. Top 5 market, not very good either. So overall, like, I don't think the books came to play that much. We'll talk about a different market that was getting people riled up. I was getting buried on Twitter for it, talking about a certain market. But in the outrights, if I'm going to lay some coin down on someone individual, it's going to be Chris Bell. We talked about it earlier. Taylor, you said he swept these pole positions last year at this track. Front row, again, one more time, 33% of the time you win on the front row here at Dega. Top 5, 52% of the time. And right now, Chris Bell, also one of the best average qualifiers this season with a top 4 and average start at 10.1. We already talked about how good he's been overall at these super speedways this season. Top of my board, almost every single metric I weighed this week. Give me some Chris Bell at plus 1,800 over on Barstool Sportsbooks. What do you think, Elliot?
Yeah, that's not a bad bet. I think Bell might be the favorite for top Toyota. We'll get into that a little later. Normally, I'm excited for some fun specials to share, but of course, Talladega, the specials are the craziness of everything else. They don't need to add extra craziness in the books for sure. Just a couple outrights here. Austin Cindric, 2,400. Alex Bowman, 2,500. I don't hate those, and those are some of the better numbers you're going to get on those guys this year.
Taylor, how do you feel about either of those drivers or any other drivers you would consider laying a little coin on?
I mean, I would honestly think maybe William Byron.
Okay.
Potentially. He has decent qualifying speed. Maybe, maybe not. Alex Bowman has at least been more consistent this season, and I said it last year. I wanted more consistency from him, and he's brought it this year, so happy about that. Cindric, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, like he should be good, but man, he has been disappointing this season. William Byron at plus 1,400, I don't mind either, just because you said it, Taylor. Like, the qualifying's been off the charts for him, so good call out there. Elliot, anything else you're considering? Like any moonshots? Like, I will be. I'm not going to advise others do this, but I will be laying about maybe an eighth of a unit on Todd Gilliland, plus 6,600. I like Todd Gilliland a little bit this week. And you can go even lower here, Elliot. Noah Grayson, 80-1. Zane Smith, 80-1. Anyone in there interest you, or is that just burning money?
They're definitely interesting. Whatever book you're on has better odds than the ones I'm seeing at Caesars here. Gilliland's plus 6,000. Corey LaJoie at plus 4,000. I mean, that's going to make you a bit of money, even if you put a couple of bucks on it. I'm high on LaJoie this week. It's not going to happen often, so enjoy it while we got it.
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's shift markets here. Let's talk about these placement markets. And I chatted about it earlier. I didn't love the top 10 offerings this week. I didn't love the top 5 offerings. However, shout out to Barstool and FanDuel continuing to bring it for the NASCAR gambling community. We got top 20s, baby. First time I've seen that in a long time in this industry. So I'm very, very excited about it. I'm going to go right back to Todd Gilliland here. Minus 130 for a top 20. I feel like that's a really good value. We've talked about how this guy keeps improving. Total speed ranking 5th best at Daytona, so he's very fast at Daytona, but also top 6 late in a run at both Daytona and Atlanta. He's good at the end of these races, man. He showed it last year in Talladega, so I'm going to ride that. Taylor, any interest in that bet or some of these other top 20 odds that kind of towards the bottom of the board? We have Austin Hill, Ty Gibbs, AJ Allmendinger, anyone in that range that you would consider for a top 20?
I mean, I'm with you with Todd Gilliland. I'll speak to that. I mean, again, we've talked about he's shown consistency. He's shown speed. He's there at the end. I mean, if anything, I have to agree with you here on that for sure.
Heck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy when you got to start throwing top 20 bets out there. And Seth, maybe you did deserve a little bit of that salt on the NASCAR betting show.
Hey.
People watch these shows to get excited about bets. I mean, you got to go. I mean, we know a fair few. We would call ourselves degenerates sometimes, I guess. We got some people who are out there looking to make money on top 20s.
Hey, if you want to be a real degenerate this week, BJ McLeod, top 20, plus 200, baby. There's your plus money, Elliot. How about it?
I do love some plus money, and if you're going to take McLeod on anything, Talladega is a pretty good spot to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead. Let's look at some head-to-head matchups here. Elliot, what were you finding here? Because the one thing I do look for in head-to-heads and groups is I'm looking for consistency, especially on these super speedways. So is anything that came to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, like I said, with some of these specials and heads-to-heads this week, just because, there's not a lot of that plus money. It's pretty chalky here. I saw one. I can't find the number in front of me now. I should have saved it, but Corey LaJoie was plus money, I think plus 140 something over minus 110. That was one I liked. Again, we'll stay on the LaJoie train, even though I was also pretty high on Almirola. But again, some of these matchups a little bit tough this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, plus 113 for Corey LaJoie there. So you are getting a little bit of positive money against Eric Almirola. So that's on Barstool for those interested. I'll throw one out, then we can throw it to Taylor for anything else that she might like or anything in general that she feels we should be considering while wagering this week. I'm going to go Ross Chastain versus Kyle Busch. And I know, Taylor, you actually a little bit higher on Kyle Busch than I was. But for Ross here, it's about that consistency. Guy has never DNF'd at Talladega in 8 total starts here. Won here last year, 9th at Daytona, 13th at Atlanta. So he's finishing very high. Kyle Busch has been okay at super speedways, 19th at Daytona, 10th at Atlanta, but he's just been off, man. Like 22.3 average finish over the last 3 weeks. Ross 14.6. So I think you're getting a little bit of a value there with Ross Chastain. Any thoughts on that, Taylor? Anything else here?
Yeah, I think with Trackhouse, and we saw it last year, I mean, they got on a hot streak as the season progressed. And at least with Kyle Busch with RCR, I mean, we don't know what his path is quite yet, but he's, like you said, the past 3 weeks hasn't done the best. But I see Trackhouse hopefully and potentially making up ground this weekend. I think Chastain is a great bet. And then I know we put Daniel Suarez pretty low. I would agree with that. But at least Chastain, I'd say he's looking a little bit better this weekend than Kyle Busch, perhaps.
Okay. Awesome. I have one more special that I want to throw out there. It's over on Caesars. We haven't given them much love here tonight, Elliot. How do you feel about this one? Joey Logano or Ricky Stenhouse to win plus 650. Ooh. I like this. A little combo action. I've already talked about Stenhouse, man. High on this guy. 3rd fastest car at Daytona, 7th fastest at Atlanta, and top 4 speed at both Dega races last season. And what more can you say about Joey Logano, man? He's been an ace at super speedways this season. He was an ace last season. 3 wins here in his career and a 32% average top 5 rate here as well at Dega. Elliot, any thoughts on that little combo action?
Yeah, I mean, I like that combo way more for Logano than I do Stenhouse. They both have a good chance, but you're talking about this year, last year. Logano has been a super speedway master practically since he's been in
That's
that
true.
22 car. I remember a particular race in the fall of 2015 at Talladega that he won that maybe a little undeserved there, but in any case, we'll get over that salt that's almost a goddamn decade old now.
Yeah.
So we'll go through some manufacturer bets here. Seth, if you don't have any specials, we'll take a quick look through these, I guess. Since
Yeah,
again,
absolutely.
the books are just, I don't know. We got to really dig deep on manufacturers now. There's a boost on Eric Almirola as the top finishing Ford at plus 1,100 on
Can't
Caesar.
do it. Can't
No.
do it. No, stop.
No.
All right.
No, thank you.
Wow. Okay. Not a lot of love on Almirola there. Top Chevrolet, really Hendrick dominated. Byron plus 450, Chase plus 550, Larson plus 700 with Kyle Busch smacked in there at plus 650. Plus 650. Then you have Chastain, Austin Hill at plus 950. I think that's a little high. Bowman and Stenhouse plus 1,200. Suarez plus 1,400.
Wait, you're telling me Austin Hill is higher in that than Bowman?
Yeah, right. Then Bowman, Stenhouse, Suarez, Dylan Jones.
I think the
they're
odds
really high
makers,
on Austin Hill. In the Xfinity Series, Austin Hill, I mean, he's going to win that race. He always wins at the super speedways. It's not going to happen in the Cup race.
No.
I mean, I think the odd makers, they went out to lunch. They got a little tipsy at lunch, a couple screwdrivers, maybe a couple margs, and they just, that's one for those. I can't get behind any of those Chevys. What about Fords, Elliot? What do you got here? Round it out there.
Yeah, top Ford. I mean, it's.
Oh, no, sorry. We already went through Fords. Toyota, my apologies.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting a little tipsy.
Well, no, yeah, I did an odds boost for that, but we got Logano plus 360, Blaney plus 400, Harvick plus 650. Not a lot of love here either. Top Toyota, Hamlin plus 200, Bell plus 260, Wallace plus 375, Ty Gibbs a plus 800 maybe.
What's Bell? What's Bell?
Bell plus 260 for the top Toyota.
That's still low.
That's the tough part is when your outrights are at plus 1,000. These manufacturer bets are the pricing more in line with the normal, a mile and a half race or a road course race. They're just not quite as attractive this week. Most of the books aren't that attractive, as we've been saying. But, we go through them just in case you want to get manufacturer specific, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, guys, have fun at Talladega. Enjoy this race, however you do it. I know it's a holiday today. If you celebrate that way, if you're going to have a couple Busch Lights, whatever it's going to be, enjoy the Talladega race because I certainly am. And just be careful. Just be careful. Yeah. Don't go blowing the whole money stack right now. But Taylor, before we let you go, please tell us one more time how we can best support you throughout the remainder of the 2023 NASCAR season, please.
Yeah, so you can follow me on social media at Above the Yellow Line on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and then at _TaylorKitchen_ on TikTok and Twitter. That's where you can find all my content, all the extra NASCAR news, all the facts, stats, and everything like that. So thank you both for having me on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. Elliot, what do you got for the people?
Well, I got the same thing I always got, and that's have fun at Dega, and thanks for rolling down the back road with us. We'll see you again next week, and good luck with the minuscule bets that you're placing this week.